Yes, we're going to be looking at how Shakespeare has constructed the world's most popular book of poetry, the Sonnets. An 80-page booklet, really, published in 1609. No cover, front or back. It looked just like this. No binding. Paper was expensive, so the publisher, Thomas Thorpe, if indeed it was him, jumped right in, and after creating this brilliant masterpiece of sacred geometry, which you've already seen in a different part of the series, he made sure he filled every available space with the magnificent poems he was offering. Well, not exactly. Right off the bat, he uses a huge font for a mere 30 words on a page for his baffling and incomprehensible dedication that no one since has been able to understand. His own initials, TT, are bigger than anything else in the entire book, with the exception of Shakespeare's name on the title page. But it turns out he's an expert cryptographer as well as a mathematician geometer, because this page contains the basic rules that unfold the 426-624 puzzle, already covered in Book 1 of the Holy Trinity Solution. Plus, well, there's this small matter of wasting 2 entire blank pages for no reason whatsoever, while then crushing the poems themselves into cramped space throughout every other page. If Shakespeare himself hadn't said something about the vacant leaves, exactly the printing term for 2 sides of a page with nothing on them, we might never have had a clue as to what's going on. But then, that's exactly what these are, a clue. We are going to be counting. Yes, the sonnets are brilliant poetry, but on another level we've already seen in another part of this series how he uses the numerology of the sonnets to give us astronomical information that he should have no access to, really. Distance Earth to Sun, Earth to Moon, speed of light. But he's also numbering stanzas, and there are 154 of them. Well, the perfect structure, as we know, is 153, and then he adds 1 that seems to spoil the structure, and then he essentially takes 2 away by making them nothing to do with the rest of the series, and the scholars agree with him, and they are about balancing opposites, and it turns out this is all to be a metaphor for the iconic structure of the sonnets that is mimicking the Great Pyramid and the missing apex, the missing pyramidion, the missing eye. That eye that joins together the 2 balancing opposites of the Horus eye, sun and moon, and brings them together into the all-seeing eye of God. So, lines, that's easy enough to count. 154 times 14 lines per sonnet. There are going to be 2,156 lines. We're also going to be counting words. Now, I know you think this is going too far, but just picture him. He's sitting alone, candlelight, quill, no computer, no word count. He's counting words. The sort of mind that would do this is either just mad or is so intent on showing us perfection, the likes of which we've never seen, that he goes to this trouble for us. You don't have to take my word for it. It is shown on a separate video precisely how it's done. You can try it yourself. You can put all the sonnets into a software program that counts words. Microsoft Word will do it. Apple's Pages will do it. But make sure you use the original 1609 Q version, because obviously everything has changed. It's so full of the changes that you're going to see here that the subsequent editors have all said, no, these are printing errors. Anyway, words. I'm going to show you, because this is so extremely incomprehensible. I'm going to just show you what it would look like, counting the words by quill, by parchment, no Xerox machine. Oh, he's made a mistake here. There's 1 extra line in that sonnet. 15 lines. Naughty bard. Oh, well, he's made another mistake here and he's got 2 less lines. Well, that's interesting. It mimics exactly what he did with the stanzas. In fact, he's even given us 2 sets of parentheses to draw attention to it, and the poem itself says, "Who hast by waning grown." By becoming less you have grown more. As thou goest onwards, still will pluck thee back. Okay, maybe that's intentional. Here he goes, still counting words all the way up to the very end, which should be 153, perfect structure. It ends there, perfectly placed. There's the catchword into the last page of the sonnets, where he puts 154 on a page all to itself. Well, it's 17,765 words. Take my word for it. We'll see why. And then you turn the page and you have a new section, A Lover's Complaint, which some scholars say is so bad it can't even be a Shakespeare poem. Its numerical structure is just as important, of course. Stanzas, we're going to count those. That's easy enough. It's a very strange number, 47 stanzas. No poetry has such weird structure, as far as I know. 47. 7 lines. It's a 7-liner. That gives us 329 lines. Words, I know you think I'm mad, but yeah, we're going to count those too. So there's our structure. Now, returning to that principle that he's already shown us about hiding truth in the center. If we were to split this 154 stanzas precisely in half, that's 77 sonnets and 77 sonnets. So you couldn't have a central line because it would completely just balance out at the middle. But remember, he gave us 1 extra line and then took 2 lines away. So there is a central line. And it ends up that that is the center line of the sonnets. Shall profit thee and much enrich thy book. And if you look back and find out, well, what will profit me and much enrich the book? It's the vacant leaves thy mind's imprint will bear, and of this book, this learning mayest thou taste. Commit to these waste blacks. And this is extraordinarily interesting because blacks is an expression that everybody has emended to blanks, which makes sense also. But blacks was the term used for printers' apprentices, their skin inevitably being stained black by the ink used in printing. And because black was associated with the black arts, the apprentice came to be called a devil. And there's this entire area of very interesting area where the demon, it is said, the first references to this is in a tract called Tractatus de Penitentia in 1285. So it was a well-known thing that the mistakes made by the blacks, the apprentices, were blamed on a little devil. And he gives us an actual clue as to this, because the only other place in the entire canon that he uses the word blacks is in A Winter's Tale. And he says, as o'er-dyed blacks, over-dyed blacks, as wind, as waters, false as dice. He's telling us that this is something associated with demonology. It means that the blacks are false as dice, and it's a reference to this printer's devil, first mentioned as the character Titivillus. The job of the printer's devil was to literally perform mischief in the print shop. And it became a fanciful belief amongst printers that all print shops were haunted by a print devil, a black, who perform mischief such as inverting type, misspelling words, removing entire lines of completed type. So we see he's giving us an enormous clue here. Commit to these waste blacks, in other words, these mistakes in the printing, and thou shalt find, and then he goes on to say what you will find, that it will profit you and much enrich this book. Huge clue there in the center. Now, continuing on with structure. Sir Flinders Petrie in 1880 was the first to measure the courses of the Great Pyramid in extraordinary detail. He measures every single height of the blocks in the courses and starts right here at the bottom and moves his way up, and this is his actual handwritten notes. Interestingly, you enter the pyramid on the 17th course. His work is unimpeachable. He gets all the way to the top here. There are 201 courses. This aerial view shows that. This plateau at the top is the 201st course. Now, possibly it makes sense then now why Shakespeare's given us 154 stanzas. The biggest building blocks of this numerical structure he's giving us is the stanzas themselves, and the biggest building blocks of the Great Pyramid are the courses, the levels. He's given us 154, and he's given us this strange number 47 in A Lover's Complaint, but add them together, and of course he's given us 201. Petrie then goes on to find, though, at the top, two courses that are missing, essentially pretty much gone. There's a few remaining stones. Course 202, 203. You can see from here that it's on the north to northwest side of the plateau. I'm just saying. Okay. Now, what does he do with that sonnet where he gives us two parentheses? He says in that sonnet, if nature, sovereign mistress over wrack, as thou goest onward, still will pluck thee back, she keeps thee to this purpose, that her skill may time disgrace and wretched minute kill. He's talking about nature, time destroying everything. And he gives us these two missing, are they missing stanzas? Are they missing lines? You know, the definition of parentheses is a qualifying explanatory word, phrase, clause, or sentence. So it can be anything incorporated in parentheses. It's a mystery. He's shown it to us in stanzas where he's taken two away. These could be referred to as two missing lines. Either way, they seem to represent the missing courses of the pyramid structure. And if we include them, they give us 203, which is the known maximum of the Great Pyramid without its missing apex. Now, the center, as we've already seen, is Sonnet 113. And we've already covered the fact that he talks of mine eye is in my mind, partly blind, seems seeing, but effectually is out. It's the story of the eye of Horus. Now he gives us a bad rhyme, lack and catch. Now, Shakespeare's a poet and he knows how to rhyme, and in fact I cover this in another video immediately following this, because the bad rhymes are part of the waste blacks, aren't they? They're the printing errors. They've all been attributed to being printed errors, but they are not. They always have another purpose. Catch. He's referring, or at least pointing us to the catch word, but of course people who amend it say no. It must be which it doth latch, in order to rhyme with catch. But lack is part of the story too, and there's one very, very important part that is always missed. The last line of this sonnet, the very central sonnet that gives us so many clues, "My most true mind thus maketh mine untrue," makes no sense. He's talking about the I throughout the entire sonnet, and at the end misses the word out. Obviously, it should be "my most true mind thus maketh mine I untrue," and it is always emended to that. He's actually left the I out. He's talking about what is lacking. The I is in my mind, and he even leaves it out at the end. And we then find out through other observation that this is about the story of the Eye of Horus, the missing eye of the pyramid, and that in balancing these two sonnets together, we achieve perfection. He's given us another bad rhyme here, just to essentially drive the point home. He rhymes lies with I. Come on. One of the worst sins of poetry ever, rhyming a plural with a singular. But where Cupid got new fire, my mistress' eye. It would be so easy to say my mistress' eyes, but he doesn't, and just has that ring of my mistress' eye. Okay, so this is the iconic structure that he's working with. He's given us a perfect triangular number, 153 on a 17 base, and then ruins it by showing us the missing eye, the missing apex. Does he do it anywhere else? Well, I said, we're going to now count lines. There's 2,156 lines in the sonnets, 329 lines in A Lover's Complaint. That would be perfect. Just that alone, that gives you a perfect triangular number on a base 70. 2,485 lines. But remember, he gave us an extra line, and then he took 2 away. The result is 1 less, that missing I. But he could have done that by just giving us 1 sonnet with 1 line less. But then he would have missed the opportunity to give us this 2 parentheses. Anyway, the ultimate upshot of this is there is 1 line less. And thus, we have the same situation again in lines. 1 missing at the top. As thou goest onwards, still will pluck thee back, the missing eye. Her audit, though delayed, answered must be. This is time, this is nature. Her audit is a reckoning, especially used in the face of God. It's the final reckoning with God. That's how it was used in the Renaissance. And her quietus, that word, is a clearing of accounts, of release. In other words, this audit, this final reckoning with God, must clear the all accounts. It must be reinstated. It must be rendered, completed. We will see that missing eye, but right now it's not there. So, how does he balance this out? The same way he did with stanzas? Well, he's given us, hasn't he, 2 missing parentheses. Each one is nothing. They perfectly balance each other out the same way as the Horus I sonnets did, 153, 154, and bring about perfection. Absolutely beautiful. Does he do the same thing with? No, can't be. Words. This is a triangular structure of words in the sonnets. Total words, 17, 765, and it's a perfect triangular number. No, it's 1 short. It's 1 short. Okay. Well, is he using this again? Parentheses can, as I say, qualify a word, a phrase, a clause, a sentence. So you could say, well, he's using that device again, but I kind of deceived you one little bit. There is one word that it did not count, because it's not in the sonnets. It's at the end of all of them. Finis, Latin for the end. And now, perfection on a base 188. But that's only all the words in the sonnets. If you add all the words in A Lover's Complaint and all the words in the title page, the title, the headers, the numbers of the sonnets, the signature mark, the catchwords. Remember, he's telling us about that, what's lacking. Add all those up, you get 349. Now, add all the words in the sonnets, all the words in A Lover's Complaint, and all the extraneous words that are found everywhere else. In other words, I'm saying everything. That means everything from here to here. And now he's given us total words, 20,705, which is a perfect triangle on a... no, I'm sorry, actually it's one short. But for these two words, the finis, finis, at the very end of both sections, the end, perfect balance, and now he gives us the perfection of a pure triangular structure. You know what that base is? 203. Isn't that the actual state of the Great Pyramid today, including the mysterious, destroyed levels at the top, indicating that really that apex was never there. These are part of a structure, at least that as far as we know, that's where the pyramid ended. But he's included it, and he's even given us a 203 base triangular number. Imagine adding these words up. He's got to add 203, 202, 201, 200, 199, all the way up to the pinnacle. It's utterly incomprehensible, but he's done it. And you can check all this yourself, or you can go to the video where I show how it's done. What has he given us? He's given us 4 of these triangles, each with their cut-off apex. A total of 20,706 words. Oh, but we haven't counted the dedication yet. Those 2 blank pages. There's 30 words there, remember? Now, add that up, and that gives us a number, well, that number is 12 times 12 times 12 times 12. So important a number to the whole structure. It is a square number on a base of 12 squared, or 144. He points this out to us in sonnet 144 with, yes, a bad rhyme. He rhymes sight with pride. We'll get to that later. What he's done is construct a pyramid, a square base, and 4 triangular sides. And he's done it all with stanzas, lines, and words, words, words. He's not finished because there is one other missing triangle, isn't there? And that is the very pinnacle of the whole thing, this invisible iconographic missing eye. And that must be the original triangular number, the first, the one that comes about from 1, 2, 3, the only sonnet that he gives us with the word pyramids. and which forms the basis of the Shakespeare equation from which he makes his astronomical calculations, all from the Vesica Piscis, which gives us the, the splitting of unity into duality, which at that same moment of splitting into duality gives us the trinity and the basic 1, 2, 3 triangle, which is a triangular number on base 2. And he ends that sonnet with, "This I do vow, and this shall ever be, I will be true. Despite thy sighs and thee." He's telling time. I am going to tell the truth in this structure. Are we finished yet? Well, he hasn't included everything, has he? Graphic elements. John Dee. You know, the graphic elements, this, we'll cover this in another part of the series, but it's a precise emblem called the bride emblem, and it indicates pure balance of A against A, which you can't see very easily in this one. You see it in the second one, but it has its special function. It means the alpha and the omega at the beginning and the end, and it has this picture of the bride in the middle of it, which I'll show in a clearer presentation later, which means essentially enlightenment. There's that graphic element, there's these two lines which balance each other out, there's this graphic element where you see the double A's, alpha, omega, the beginning and the end. This is called the Holy Grail emblem. And then every single piece of punctuation, because that's John Dee's methodology, isn't it? Every dot, every comma, every hyphen, every letter, every single character in the whole structure, beginning to end. In other words, characters. He's given us stanzas, lines, words, and now the characters that play these words, and the final graphic element. And when you add all of those up, it is 90,950. You thought words were a lot. He's actually counted characters. Oh, sorry, no, it's actually one short. It is. But there are these 2 vacant leaves, 2 pages with nothing on them. You could say, well, that's the balancing element here, maybe. But there's one other thing that represents the missing I, that actually is missing. The only sonnet he does not number is sonnet 1. It has no number. The missing I, the missing 1. Now we have perfection, complete perfection. He's counted absolutely everything in the entire booklet. I suppose you're wondering what base this is on. Let me first show you the pyramid that he created out of stanzas, lines, words, words, words. Remember? He says, her audit, though delayed, answered must be, and her quietus is to render thee. You must add it all up, and it must reach perfection at the end, in other words. It does. Those add up to 624, and this base is 426. He's given us perfection. The question that remains to be answered is why? Why go to these lengths?